Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to an edition of Triple Single Crew, and we're back. It's been a little bit of a hiatus, but we're back, and we hope to bring you guys content consistently again throughout the week. And I'm joined by my guy Doc Antonio Martinez. What's going on,
Yeah,
Doc?
happy to be back, y'all. As the real deal said, it's been a while. We've been trying to get our lives together over these past 2 years, but we're excited to have communicated just a schedule that seems like will work for us to provide you just ongoing content, right? All things related to Bay Area sports. But as you can see, this one it's going to be very specific.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this one, we're just excited, everybody. Like we're excited to get into this preseason game. We got the 49ers and the Packers kicking it off at 5:30 on Channel 5 as usual this Friday. So it should be really interesting beyond just obviously getting to see Trey as the first quarterback. So we got some stuff we want to get into. But before we do, I got to play this for you, Doc, because I just think this is hilarious. This is the thing I mentioned to you the other day about them talking about the Rams and the Niners. And so hopefully when I share my screen, you'll be able to see this. So I'm going to start sharing. Let me share my screen. All right. Let's see if it'll work this time. All right. Can you see that YouTube vid? Are you able to see that or no? Uh-oh. Now you're muted. We lost
Sorry,
you.
sorry. Yeah, I was muted. I was saying that I can't see it yet. You were a bit choppy, so I'm not sure if your connection was
I
going
don't
off
know. Is my connection still bad right now?
a little bit, and it
Okay.
doesn't. It's not showing anything on the screen. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
man. Okay.
It's
All
not
right.
able.
Well, it was pretty funny. Maybe let's see if I play it. Maybe you'll be able to hear it. But this is Jimmy Ward talking about just getting a chance to play the Rams. I just love this. Did you hear that at all or no?
I could hear some voices, but it wasn't too clear.
It wasn't too clear. Okay, let me try to put up the volume a little bit. He's basically saying they're asking him about how he feels about the Rams coming up here, and he's basically saying I don't have any love for him, and he really wants to play him. So I just find it really funny, just that whole exchange because he didn't even ask him, and he just decided to mention this. So okay, let me play it again. Hopefully you
Yeah,
heard that. But
yeah, I was
all right,
able to. Uh,
all right, cool. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I just wanted to kick the season off with that because like that's what it's going to be about. We came so close last year, and so I know there's a lot of hype, obviously, and obviously it's a good reason. I'm wearing number 5 over here so you can see it. Yeah. So I picked this up recently, and I'm probably going to pick up the jersey soon as well. But I'm excited about Trey, obviously. But the first thing I want to talk to you about, and I definitely want to get your take, is these position battles.
mhm.
Like I want to hear from you what you think. What in your mind is the main position battle or battles that you're looking forward to in this preseason?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a combination of receivers and O line. I think we're really set in our linebacker core with Warner, Greenlaw, and Aziz. I'm trying to remember.
Alshire, yeah,
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 Alshire. Yeah,
yeah.
Alshire. Forgive me. I think we're really set there. I think cornerbacks, right? We're set with Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, and Verrett, right? Once Verrett gets healthy as well. I guess maybe Hufanga, I think, might be in a battle himself.
Yeah, definitely.
Ward's position is locked in. I've heard nothing but good things from Hufanga, so that's just coming up to mind now. But going back to what I had said, I think receivers and more so trying to figure out who's going to be our third receiver because a guy that
Yeah,
we see this offseason, I believe his name is Ray McLeod from the Steelers, who seems to be a speedster, right? So we also then drafted Danny Green, right? Who is Danny Gray, not Danny Green. Bad
I mean,
memories. Danny
I mean,
Green.
Denny Green was
Bad
he's a
memories.
heck of a coach, though.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking Danny Green, the Spurs player.
Oh, you're
bad.
thinking that Danny Green. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
when
yeah.
I said Danny Green,
Yeah, yeah.
Danny Gray, yeah, who's also another burner. And it's very clear that Kyle wants some speed out there
Yeah.
to allow Trey to throw bombs, right? So just figuring out who that slot receiver will be, because then you got Jennings as well, who isn't fast, but is really physical. And sometimes in the
Yeah.
slot, you want somebody who's willing to go up the middle, make that difficult catch, and isn't afraid to take a hit, right? Because sometimes that's where the biggest collisions are. So I would say the receiver battle is something that I'm looking forward to. And then O line, trying to figure out who's going to be our starting center. Really hoping that Banks pays off, having invested a second round pick in him last year. Hardly saw the field, and so I'm hoping he shows just drastic improvement. McGlinchey coming back from injury, really hoping that he is back in good shape and can withhold or withstand the brutal, a length of a season. And right, Trent Williams staying healthy. So although those aren't battles, right, but I just think trying to see like, okay, what does our O line look like, because they're the ones that are going to be protecting, Trey.
Yeah, no, no question. I think you nailed it to me. I mean, it's O-line, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, is like, who's gonna play guard? With Laken Tomlinson leaving, we talked a
Yeah.
little bit about Spencer Burford, the kid from
Yep.
UTSA,
Mhm.
right? He's looking good. I think a guy that has a chance to make the team too is, that kid out of Mercer, Jason Poe. Right? We got this kid, undrafted kid, who's just kind of a beast, just great athlete. I think he was like a converted tight end or something like that. But
Okay.
he was a guy who was getting a lot of love from Niner fans right after the draft, and he's a good athlete. A bit undersized. He's more like 300 pounds, maybe a little less than that. And so I think he's a
Mhm.
guy that has an outside chance at that guard, maybe that left guard. But
Yeah.
really, I mean, if Aaron Banks doesn't pan out, then it's looking really weird. Because at right guard, you have Brunskill,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I think we all feel like he's pretty much set there,
Mhm.
unless he switches to center or needs to, because I know they want Brendel to play there. Um, but so it's, to me, it's Banks and maybe Burford, and then this other kid at guard. Like, we're kind of thin at guard in a way. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what worries me the most. We had talked about this earlier this week, is just that O line, considering they're the ones that are going to be buying time for Trey, right? So as we're trying to
Yeah.
think about how our offense is going to become a bit more explosive with Trey and being able to throw the bombs downfield, like you do need some time. Now,
Right.
obviously, Trey has that skill set with his legs where he could roll out and buy himself a little bit more time, but typically that then can get in the way of maybe being as accurate as you would be if you're just standing in the pocket with great protection. So, um, yeah,
Yeah.
or you're limited, right? You're trying. Then at that point, you're even taught not to throw across your body, and so then you're kind of taking away maybe a part of the field if you're rolling out left or right. Whereas if you're in the pocket, right, you have access to the middle, the right, the left, the sidelines, whatever it is you want to do over the top. So really hoping that our O line can give Trey that time he needs to throw some of those explosive, footballs to our receivers.
Yeah, and I mean, not to go too far back, but back in the day, with Walsh and all those guys, it's thought of as a dance, right? It's about the amount of steps. So now they got to readjust to the way that Trey does his steps versus
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Hmm.
So it's like that extra little half step this way or half step that way. And I think that's what really happened a lot last year. And people were saying, oh, he was getting sacked and he was getting hit, especially in that Arizona game. It's like, well, the offensive line hasn't played with him. Like, they don't know if he's gonna scramble left or
Yeah.
right,
Hmm.
but now they're gonna know, and so that's, I think, is gonna be the best benefit. I do think we're really deep at tackle, though, because I was saying we're a little thin to me at guard, but at
Yeah.
tackle, I mean, I forgot about, we have that kid Jalen Moore, right? So I mentioned we have
Oh
McKivitz,
yeah.
but I think, yeah, Jalen Moore is really good. So if McGlinchey's kind of like, not great, I would just plug him in, and he can swing to the Trent's side too if needed. Hopefully not. But, so we do have some depth at tackle, even if not at guard. But I really love what you were talking about with receiver. And so, give me some names, or give me your thoughts on some of these guys who, because I know you mentioned Danny Gray, and then what you're looking to see, from him, and what you're hoping to see. Because I know Jennings, it gets a little tricky there when you go third, fourth receiver.
Yep. Yeah, so I think with Danny Gray, really hope that he can just stretch the field. I hope that when given the opportunity, right, he can secure those catches, whether it be on long throws or even just something up the middle. I'm wondering just to what extent they'll be using some of these new speedsters with the sweep packages, right? The Ray
Yeah.
McLeod, the Danny Grays, giving Debo time off from having to do that because we know Debo was really good at that. But it was interesting, right? Debo was really good at it because of his agileness and his physicality. Whereas a lot of times when I think about the sweep, I'm thinking about someone that's fast, right? Someone that's going to grab that and just find one hole and be able to go. Debo just had a special skill set at doing that when he had the ball, but it wasn't because he was fast. So now my hope is that we have two guys that should be faster than Debo are able to potentially run some of those plays and get us some really big yards. Have the defenses on on their toes, like not 100% sure what we're gonna do. Because sometimes it's even right. Let's say you have Ray McLeod or Danny Gray motion in that way. Now the defense has to pay attention to it, and it could be more of a kind of like a distraction. Now something else is open on the other side, right?
Right.
So really hoping that Kyle gets really creative with these new, I guess, like skill sets that he has within these players. It's not that we didn't have speed in the past, but I'd really have to sit back and say I can't remember the last time we had someone that was like a 4.3 speed that was actually expected to play, right? Maybe
Yeah.
uh Goodwin. Was it Goodwin?
Hmm.
Right,
Marquise. Yep.
Marquise. Yeah,
Yep.
that was the last time we had someone that was fast, like fast.
Yeah, he was Olympic sprinter fast,
Mhm.
I remember that.
Yeah.
He just couldn't stay healthy, but he was a guy that he was really fast. He got into football late too, so I think his hands sometimes weren't great. But to me, if he would have stayed healthy, I think he would have been a great, like you said, that deep threat.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's what I'm looking for with Danny Gray, and that's just such a great segue too, because we can then go into who you think is your breakout preseason pick. Because I know who mine is, but I need to hear from you. I don't wanna know who yours is.
Yeah, so I was really big when we drafted him last year. And to me, he gets a lot of heat, but when he actually held on to the ball and was given PT, I think he was averaging like 4 yards per carry, and that's Trey Sermon, right? I'm still
Yeah,
a Trey Sermon. Guy had an amazing college career, had to overcome some different adversities there. And I think it can very much be the same type of story here, right? Had a really rough first season, and it was really only rough because of a combination of his health. And then he fumbled the ball, right? The few times that he
right.
had the chance to play or was expected to play consistently. But when he was healthy and didn't fumble, like I said, he was averaging like 4 yards. I'm assuming maybe he wasn't seeing the holes as quickly as Kyle wanted him to see them, but some of that is really just adjusting to the offense, right? I think we got to also understand how that can be a challenge for some of the running backs as well. Not trying to make an excuse for him too, right? But I
Yeah,
mean, players struggle, right? And then Elijah Mitchell just so happened to burst into the scene, and I think it led there to be less of a leash on Trey, on Sermon, right, to kind of bounce back, because then it's like, all right, well, Mitchell is killing it. Why are we going to
exactly.
go back to Sermon? But I think this year there were some reports that Kyle was saying that Trey Sermon seems to be in the best shape of his life, and that happens sometimes, right? Even as a professional athlete, I think sometimes you go through an experience that humbles you. It makes you realize, like, dang, like I might have been the man at Ohio State, I may have been the
Mhm.
man at Oklahoma, and yeah, I was drafted here to the San Francisco 49ers, but I need to earn that all over again because everybody here is good and can be the man, right? So I'm excited to see him get PT this preseason because I do think he's going to get a good amount of it. And even if he's the third back, we know with running backs, health is always a challenge. So I'm looking forward to him getting an opportunity this season in the preseason and then hopefully in the regular season as well.
Oh yeah, I think he will. Because I think TDP now is the one who's gonna have to earn it, right? So,
Yeah.
Davis Price, and so, uh, I just to me, like, yeah, I love that battle there because of and their physicality, and I love what
Mhm.
you said that Kyle said he came in to shape this year. He came in the best shape of his life because I think it's different. Like you said, when you're in college and you're much stronger, bigger and stronger than those guys, and then you get to the NFL and it's like, yeah, you're big and strong, but I mean, the gap
Everyone
is
else,
much smaller. Yeah,
yeah,
everybody else is. And so, I do think he probably needed to kinda get that stamina, get that NFL strength, last year, and he's not a guy who's gonna beat you too much with his quickness, but in
no,
a short area, I think he can have some great burst, and I'm with you, like, he's a guy who'd be like 5, 6 yards, fall forward,
yep,
you know?
uh-huh,
And if he can do that in the A gap, then it opens everything up, like you said. You got the receivers coming around, the outside the tackles with Mitchell, who really should not be running up the middle, up the gut, right? So it's that one. That's a really good call. I mean, for me, I mean, you already know this, but I'm really excited to see Danny Gray. Like, I just want to see. I think in preseason he could be really, really special because a lot of times he's probably going to go up against the twos and threes, anyways. So, but I'm excited. I want to see him run routes. I want to see how his hands are because I've heard in camp, like, yeah, he can run all the routes, but I just read some stuff. It's like, is he consistently getting there, getting his hands up at the catch radius point? And so yeah, I'm excited to see Danny Gray. I think he's going to have a really big preseason. And so, yeah, I really like that, though. Trey Sermon and look out for Danny Gray. All right. And that leads me to this point here about Trey Area. It's the guy. So I got the shirt on. That's the guy. So, the reason I put this on here and I wanted to talk to you about it is just because we talked about all these different things, but at the end of the day, everyone should be most excited to see this guy and his progress because it really is all about Trey. If he does well, we'll do well. If he struggles a bit and it takes that learning curve is more like Josh Allen, or maybe even a little tougher, then in those first few years, then we know that maybe we're going to kind of be trying to sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So just want to see what you're looking for to see from not from the regular season, but just this first start against Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get a chance to see some of that adjustment, like you mentioned, from our O line, of knowing that when you have a mobile quarterback, that you need to keep blocking until you hear the whistle, right? And that's
Right.
not to say that any of our O line have not been doing that, but to some extent, right? When you get used to the tendencies of a quarterback, you're like, okay, it's been about 6 seconds in my head. Like, I'm pretty sure he got rid of the ball by now, or, I'd probably know if he was on my side. I think with Trey, right, they're gonna have to, even our O linemen are gonna have to be on their toes, just constantly like ready to block. If anybody's even running your
Yeah.
direction, you better go block that person because Trey might be right there, just about to unload a pass, right? That you having put your hand on that guy gave that time for Trey to throw whatever pass he was looking to throw. But beyond that, just maybe some accuracy, like just with the passes that he does get a chance to throw, making sure they're really accurate, making sure that he's like hitting the receivers in stride. um I don't see him playing more than maybe 2 or 3 series, right? So it
Mhm.
may be limited what we do get to see from him. Obviously, him just being unscathed and healthy, that'll be successful after
Yep.
every preseason game. But I think seeing some touch on his passes, like I said, seeing the O line block for him and him feeling confident and comfortable behind that O line, that'll be great to see in this preseason start.
Yeah, I agree with you. It would be kind of fun to see if is he going to slide in the right way, right? Because that's the one thing with rookie quarterbacks. It's like it's all mechanical, right? They got the
Yeah,
steps, they got the ball up top, but is he going to know when to slide and where to slide to buy that extra like millisecond?
yeah,
And then to your point, I mean, a lot of the offense this year is going to be similar to what Jimmy did the last few years, which is, hey, can you get it out on a slant to
mhm,
IU? Can you
mhm,
can you hit the guy in the flat? Mitchell's going to be there in TDP or Sermon, and you got to be able to hit those guys because that's one thing that a lot of times with real big athletic quarterbacks with rocket arms, as we know from having Cap, back in the day, it's kind of a tough adjustment
yeah,
sometimes. And
yeah,
so I
yeah,
think Trey is really good at it, and I think he will be great at it. We just haven't seen enough tape on it.
yeah,
But if he hits those and he can kind of hit that, like the one he did to Sherfield last year, where just like the play action and he just kind of swung around and just went deep. If
yeah.
he can do that consistently, from the short to intermediate, it'll open up things deep. And then it's all about building confidence at that point.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. You're right. Sometimes with quarterbacks with big arms, like it's those short and intermediate routes that they struggle a little bit with, right?
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so it'll be good to see him kind of having shown some growth in those areas. But I'm glad that he's gonna play. That was one thing I was
Yep.
wondering if Kyle was gonna let him play. I think it's important that he does, right? With how young Trey is, he needs as many reps as he can get, even if it is at the preseason level, right? Just to continue to build some just chemistry as well with his skill players.
Mhm.
Like I said, even if it is just 3 series, game one, I think he said he's hoping that none of the starters really play game two, and then some of them will play a little bit game three. So yeah,
So yeah, we got someone subscribing already. What's up? Thank you, Bubbly
hey,
Dog.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah.
There you
So
go.
again, just looking forward to what plays out. Again, we know Kyle's probably going to keep the offense pretty vanilla for the
Yeah.
preseason. That's normal. So I also encourage fans not to get too overexcited or overwhelmed if you're not seeing what you were hoping to see in the first preseason game, right?
Yeah.
I know I can be guilty of that. So I'm just like, come on, man. When the game starts, I'm like just very passionate. I want to see everything just play out perfectly and see that
Yeah.
growth. But I think sometimes it's important to remember, like, it's still preseason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a place to learn.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'll give you one other guy too that and I totally agree with you. They got to be patient with Trey. We all have to be because I think the talent is there, the mind is there. He's going to be just a great, great player. I really believe that. But the one guy I just kind of want to give a quick bonus, like dark horse player or breakout star, would be someone like Drake Jackson. I hear the guy's doing like backflips or something like that in practice. Like, I just want to see that athleticism, because I think he'll get some reps too. He probably will play, like if Bosa plays a quarter, this guy might play 2 quarters just to kind of get him up to speed, and get him into different rotations with that D line. So, I'm looking forward to the big guy, big number 99 out of USC coming around the edge.
Yeah, I'm excited for Drake Jackson too. I'm excited for Kinlaw, even though I've been disappointed these last
Yeah,
few years.
right.
The guy's massive. Like, he very much has the size, the ability to be disruptive up the middle. I just think it's about him staying healthy, right, and getting
Yep.
himself in the shape that he needs to be to maximize his size and his strength. And so my hope is that these last few years have also been really humbling for him, and that he comes in this year ready to eat. Because
Yep.
guys like him, if they don't really produce by the third year, sometimes those guys end up out of the league or just bouncing from team to team, even if they were
Yeah.
first round picks. So I'm hoping he's using that pressure in a way to push him to try to be better. And but yeah, I'm excited
Yeah.
for Drake Jackson too, though. It seems like some of the players have had nothing but good things to say about him during this summer camp, and so hoping he gets a chance to showcase some of that this first preseason game.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to, on your point with Kinlaw, I mean, I just think the thing with Kinlaw is that there's some pressure not only from himself, just his own internal pressure, but as an organization. I
Yeah,
mean, we technically gave up a Pro Bowl player, um, and I don't know why I'm blanking out, but
Forrest Buckner.
thank you, Defoe. I don't
Yep.
know why I was blanking out on Defoe. It's been
Yeah.
a long week, everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, Defoe like is a Pro Bowler, and he continued to be a Pro Bowler after going to Indianapolis. So, to kind of to replace that guy, basically replace a guy who could be a legend someday. I think he's already on his way there, and I think that there's some pressure there for John and Kyle. Like, hey, it's got to pan out, and so we're
Yeah.
in this is what, year 3 now.
Three. And you got to remember that
So
DJ Jones isn't on the team anymore. And I felt like
no,
DJ Jones was holding down that spot and kind of allowing for folks to forget about Kinlaw a tiny bit. Not at all, not completely,
right,
right? People were still wondering where's Kinlaw, but then you had DJ Jones just being a beast in the middle. And it made it so people were like, that's all good. We got DJ Jones. Well, he's not there no more, right? I think
exactly.
he's kind with Miami and followed the coach down there. So, yeah, Kinlaw needs to show up.
Yeah, he does. He does. And it's like you said before about competition for the rookies. I mean, yeah, he's a third year guy, but there's still competition. He's got to be in shape. And from what I hear, he is. He's
Yeah,
doing well. I know reports are that, the defensive coaches are really happy with his work. And so that leads us to believe, okay, he's a huge guy. We know that if he's in shape at his size, he's going to cause problems for people. And so I can't wait to see that if he does blossom into just a solid player like DJ Jones and with maybe more athleticism
yeah,
and more pass rushing, right? Just imagine that guy in the center with Drake Jackson on one side and Bosa on the other. I mean, you know, and I keep hearing such great things about, Charvarius Ward and that secondary,
yeah.
right? So, like I
Yep.
played that clip earlier. Jimmy Ward, man, he's ready for the Rams, man. He's got no love and he's got no time for them. And so I'm ready to see that. I'm really excited to see this defense as the year progresses. And I mean, week 1, I mean, I know we're still talking preseason, but just real quick, in week 1, it's the Bears, right? So it's the Bears and it's on the road. So no better place to start really when you need to find out how tough you are. And for Trey going on the road in a tough road
Yeah.
environment, It's always a good trip over there to a bad weather game, right? So
Yeah, and I'll be excited for that game considering that Justin Fields is a starting quarterback for the
that's
Bears.
right. He's your guy.
I was a guy that I will admit I had over Trey. Of course, I'm completely happy with the fact that we drafted Trey in the sense that I didn't feel like they were far off from each other. But right, I mean, just naturally, there's going to be some of that comparison when we get to week 1 and dissect that game. Now, obviously, again, it's
Yeah.
week 1. By the time week 10 comes up, so much differences in the season, right? But that week 1, people will be paying close attention to that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and that's another internal little thing that the GMs have, right? This
Yeah,
competition of, hey, did I get the right guy?
exactly. Yep.
Because it was really close there. I really believe that if it wasn't Trey Lance, that it would have been Justin Fields. I know people were thinking, oh, and how maybe it would have still been Mac.
Yeah.
Yep, it would have still been Mac, or maybe Zach Wilson was still in play. But I think Zach Wilson was always a goner to the Jets.
Yeah.
So it was literally, do you want Justin Fields or Trey Lance? And so yeah, it's gonna. You're right. Thank you for reminding me of that. That this is this is right out of the gate for Justin. Also,
Yep.
it's his offense. He's QB1 also. So
Yep. Uh-huh.
yeah, this will be. He played well actually against us. You know, the stats didn't look great, but he played well. Hey, here we go. Got another someone else posting here. I will definitely put that up. Thank you so much for checking us out. I'm a 49ers fan. This is Andrew Spears. I'm a 49ers fan since a kid, and I just want to say that Trey Lance will prevail over doubters this season. Go bang bang gang. I know everyone said bang bang Niner gang, and I kind of got on board with that, but I had just created my own thing. I don't know if you guys can see that. It says Gilded Gang. You know, basically it's my own little variation, but yeah, bang bang Niner gang. Thanks so much, Andrew. Appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe. We appreciate that.
Yeah, it's funny you came up and mentioned that, Andrew, because for context, we actually work together, and so we talk sports all the time. This is why
Yep.
we want to do a podcast to be able to do it in a more official way. But we were just talking this week how there's this interesting dynamic of 49er fans like wanting to see Trey fail for some odd reason. Like,
Yeah,
don't
it's
get me
weird.
wrong, we understand if you had a great appreciation for Jimmy G. I mean, I think we all did to some extent, even though we knew he had a lot of limitations. But at the end of the day, like if you're a fan of the 49ers, like you want that starting quarterback to
Right.
succeed, especially if there's a possibility that your starting quarterback can be someone who's 21. Like I think Trey's 21 or
Yeah.
22 at most. Like
Yeah.
that means you could have maybe 15 years worth of a franchise quarterback if he pans out in the way that we hope he does, right? So why anyone wouldn't want that is beyond me. So yeah, we're with you, Andrew. We're hoping he does prove the doubters wrong this
Yep.
season and beyond this season. We hope he goes on to have an amazing career that brings us more than a few championships.
Yeah, no question. And I mean, again, if for like you said, we're all 49ers fans at the end of the
Mhm.
day. So, if you're a 49er fan, you want to see these guys succeed. I see this stuff sometimes with the Giants too. I'm a big Giants fan, and it's like the prospects coming up, or someone struggles after a couple of games, and it's just like, see, I told you he's terrible. And I'm like, that's not really much of a sample size. So we gotta, and that's the thing too with Trey that we got to be careful of, because that narrative, the media is gonna push that. In the first game that he has 2 or 3 picks, the media is going to start to say, "Oh, see, they should have taken, Mac, or they should have done this, or they should have done that." And you can't be that way. I mean, like again, I keep going back to Josh Allen, but they played in the same conference, and I think Josh Allen was not nearly as talented as Trey coming out. Now he's amazing, but coming out of Wyoming, he wasn't a polished player. I think he completed like 55% of his passes, probably less at Wyoming, right? And I get it. Trey played only 1 year, and I'll get off my soapbox on this because I'm obviously biased. But I just wanted to say that just at that moment in time, that's where we're at right now. If we could take both players at that moment in time, I would take Trey, just because he's just the more polished pocket passer at this moment. So we'll see how that goes. He needs reps. He needs reps, and he'll get better with each game. But yeah, I wouldn't expect him to go out and throw for 400 yards, 300 yards. He's going to probably average between 22 and 25 pass attempts most days, and he should, because we got a running game and a defense, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to put everything on him. But what do we
Yeah.
got going on?
I think the last thing I'll say is that there was some talk on 95.7 about trying to keep Jimmy G. Even though he'd be an expensive backup, he'd probably be the best backup in the league, which is true. But what I think you create with keeping Jimmy G is that then, right, like you said, the first game that Trey has 3 interceptions, the narrative and the media and the fans will say, bring Jimmy G in. And that can go a long way into the psychological piece of Trey. Like, we get it, they're professional athletes, they're getting paid millions of dollars, but I do think we're at a time in today's day and age where we recognize even athletes have like mental health, challenges. Athletes
Yeah.
also can sometimes be impacted. We expect them to be robots, and I get it. Like, they're paid in a way where we hope they can overcome that and perform, but that still can be in your mind, even if it's unconsciously what the media and the fan base is saying. And so, right, there's obviously still a really big demographic of fans that love Jimmy and actually still want him to start even after last season's end
Yeah.
and his surgery. And I think that's why the 49ers probably are going to lean towards cutting him or trading him, because
Yeah.
if you take away him as an option, yeah, fans can be like, see, we should have kept Jimmy. That's fine. But guess what? He's not on the team. We can't do anything about that, right?
Right.
Whereas if he is on the team, then you find yourself in that predicament.
And yeah,
But
look, I like Jimmy too. We all like Jimmy. I don't think that's the other thing. There's a segment of fans where they're like, they really like Jimmy, they really like Trey, and then we're kind of in between, I think, where
yeah,
it's like, no, we like Jimmy, we appreciate Jimmy, but it's we knew that time was coming to where there's only so much that Jimmy can do. I
yeah,
do think though, if he's in a right situation and he stays healthy, which was always a big thing,
that was the issue.
I've tried to say this to fans a lot in chats and just in general to friends, that to me, his first injury, the first big injury, that ACL in 2018, that did change the type of player that we
Yeah,
see today,
yeah, for
right?
sure.
Like, it changed the trajectory. I think he was much more mobile back then. And if you guys, yeah, go and check out his highlights, then you'll see he was more mobile.
Yeah.
He was more aggressive to run or at least scramble and then find the open guy.
Yep, and scramble.
Right?
Yep.
It
Pocket.
just changed, right?
Yeah.
And so he changed a bit, and I think it's just the piling up of injuries. But if he can stay healthy, like, the Browns should be all over, like,
Shoot,
getting
the
Jimmy.
Browns, the
Come
Texans,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
most. And then going to one of our bubbly, I don't know what you prefer, bubbly dog.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
Regardless,
with Bubbly Dog.
yeah, bubbly dog said it's going to be a roller coaster, but this defense will lead wins just like with Jimmy. I agree, right? My thing is, like, if we're going to have the same type of like heart attack games, I'd rather have it with Trey, like I said, who's 22 and has room to grow and get
Yep.
better and learn, versus Jimmy, who I think where he's at in his career, like, you know what you're going to get. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? You kind of just have to live with it. I rather, again, like I said, roll the dice with Trey. You already invested first round picks into him. Like I said, he's only 21 or 22. So why not move forward in that way? And yeah, Bubbly Dog, believe me, Jimmy definitely brought 49ers out of dark times. It's cool having subscribers. Like, now I feel like I want to just talk for longer times. I think we're only trying to 30 minutes, but now that we have your engagement, like, now y'all
Yep.
got me inspired. But what I was going to say is, Will and I have talked about this a lot. When he came in for those last 5 games of that season, that I think we had 0 wins and then won us 5 games, I have a post on Facebook that was like, oh my God, like, I think for the first time in my life, like, we have found a franchise quarterback. And that's not even any disrespect to Kaepernick. It's just the way that Jimmy was doing it seemed a lot more like what the greats do it, like, right? What
Yep.
Kaepernick did would just seem so different, right? And you wondered how sustainable it could be. Well, maybe not so different, because Michael Vick kind of had a variation of what Kaepernick did. Donovan McNabb, Steve McNair, I guess I could go down the line. Warren Moon, like, there was definitely guys you could compare it to what Kaepernick was doing, but just the size of Kaepernick seemed different. Kaepernick was just big, like, strong, cannon of an arm, like,
Yep.
and ran just fast, right? And that was like an anomaly, it felt like, right? That wasn't the norm. But then when you saw Jimmy in that 5 game span, you're like, this looks like Brady. Like, this looks like, the type of guys that do this for many years on end and win you championships. But
Yeah.
then the very next year, right, as Will said, got injured, right? Didn't slide. I think was trying to run out of bounds
It was the Kansas City. Yeah.
Against the Kansas City Chiefs of
Yep.
all teams. And then what happened. But yeah, all due respect to Jimmy. I mean, took us help contribute to get us to a Super Bowl, contribute to get
Yeah.
us to some NFC Championship games, and I'll never take that away from Jimmy. Not at all.
No, not at all, and no one should. I mean, look, this past year, I don't know how he was able to play with a busted up thumb, the bad shoulder. Like, if anybody didn't have any respect for how strong or tough the guy is,
Yeah,
this year was one that proved that he's pretty strong, he's pretty tough, he's capable, right?
yeah,
And he was willing to keep playing through that, playing through pain. And, I think, like I said, I wish the guy a lot of luck. I do like the guy. I think when he's right, he is in the top, half of the league, and top 15 guy when he's rolling. When he's rolling and he's healthy, he's a top 15 quarterback. I believe that. He might be in the fringes of the 14, 15, but he is. I mean, that's saying a lot. Playing quarterback in the NFL is not easy. So, and you need a good one in order to win in the playoffs, as we've seen. So, again, we're ready to definitely move on. We think the transition to he made that easier, and I think kind of like how Mahomes talks about Alex Smith a lot. I know that comparison is done a lot, but in terms of the example that I'm trying to give is that Mahomes always cites, Alex was really good to me. He was a great teacher. I wouldn't be nearly the player I am, or at least I wouldn't have advanced as quickly if it wasn't for Alex. I think that Trey has said some similar stuff and will continue to say similar things down the road because Jimmy made that transition more like a big brother as
Yeah.
opposed to, like back in the day, I don't know if you remember, but like Favre was not that way
Yeah,
when Aaron Rodgers
not like
arrived, man.
at all. Yeah.
Like, it was literally like, no, you're not taking my job, dude. I mean, like that's how Joe Montana
I mean, I
was.
was gonna say that's how Joe was
Joe,
with Steve,
Joe was
right?
like,
Joe was the same
yeah,
way with Steve.
it was the same way. I was like, dude, you're not taking my job. I'm not helping you. Like, it wasn't even that he disliked the guy as a man. He's just like, you're in my way. I'm here to win, and that's it. Whereas with Jimmy, it's like, yeah, I'm here to win, but I know that this may not last forever. So I'm gonna try to, teach you some stuff, and that's just the kind of dude he is. He's a blue collar dude, right? Working class family, and so yeah, I respect the guy a lot. And I think he'll do well. I think the Browns, like I said, I don't know what these guys are taking so long because, again, this is a little different, obviously, aside from what we're talking about today. But we think, Deshaun's going to probably get at least a year. I mean,
Yeah.
they're talking indefinite, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm
So,
surprised it wasn't indefinitely. But yeah,
yeah,
with that said, I think the last thing I'll say is that yeah, it is
yeah,
Trey Lance's time now, and I think it's a benefit for all of us to root for him and root for his success
yeah,
because if he's successful and if he makes us great, then guess what? We all celebrate. Like we all get to give each other high fives, fist pumps. We get a chance to get excited when Sundays come around, when Monday Night Football comes around.
oh, yeah,
Nothing but good things will come if Trey is good. And Bubbly Dog, really hope that you continue to catch us when you can, when we come on live. I don't know if you were here
yeah,
from the beginning, probably not. Will and I, the real deal, are going to try to be consistent with this content. We're going to try to put some stuff out on Tuesdays and Fridays. I don't know, Will. I guess we can talk about this at work. But maybe Fridays we can do it before the game, or if we can find some time after the game just to give some recap of after the game, because that's usually what fans
yeah,
kind of want to share in the experience with, right? If we did great, like, what do we want to
yeah,
celebrate? If we play like crap, fans want to vent and we can vent with them.
yeah,
But thank you, Bubbly Dog, for being on here and giving us things to also continue to talk about. Like, this is what makes subscribers so amazing, is that we can then start responding to you and we can go beyond what we initially thought we were going to talk about. But yeah,
yeah.
that's where I'll end it for myself today.
Yeah, no. Thanks, Doc. And so, yeah, again, for you guys that are new to the channel, thanks so much again for joining us, for joining us in the chat. And yeah, I think we're gonna try to do maybe something post game on Friday. I'm off that day, so probably during the day I probably won't be available, but maybe post game we'll kind of do a quick hit on the game, and then you guys are more than welcome to please join us again. We'll talk about that again. This is the Triple Eagle Crew. We started out with 3, right now we're 2. Potentially we're going to get our guy Ronnie back, or we'll have some guests as well, so we'll continue to be 3. But yeah, this is the Triple Single Crew. Thank you guys so much again for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Take care, like, and subscribe.
See you, everybody.
See you.